colleagues, I am Garba Ibrahim Mohammed, representing Gwale Federal Constituency, Kano State. Mr. Speaker, this motion is on the need to address the unlawful sale of transformers by distribution companies in Nigeria. The House notes that prior to the enactment of the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005, which privatized the power sector, thereby enabling private companies to participate in electricity generation, transmission, and distribution, which led to the separation of Power Holding Company of Nigeria into 11 distribution firms, 6 generation and 1 transmission companies. The sector was solely controlled by the Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN. The House also notes that previously, the Federal Ministry of Power oversaw the electric power sector in Nigeria until 2005, when the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission was established under the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005 to act as an independent regulator to drive the power sector reform program of the federal government. The House is aware that the NERC is empowered to act to ensure an efficiently managed electricity supply industry by imposing mandatory reliability standards on the transmission system and imposing penalties on companies that manipulate the electricity market. The House is also aware that in addition to its power, the Electricity Regulatory Commission is also empowered to ensure that electricity distribution companies, DISCOs, provide adequate supply of electricity to its consumers by ensuring the provision and installation of transformers and other electricity distribution accessories. The House is concerned that despite the clear provisions of the laws regulating the electricity distribution companies, there are still public outcries by consumers of exploitation by these companies, coupled with the uncovering by the PHCN officers of over 2,000 hidden transformers in Lagos, as reported by the Information Desk of 13th October 2012. The House is therefore worried that by the recent trend of the discourse, extorting money from consumers to replace transformers and other distribution accessories, which is their statutory function. Cognizant that, though the acting chairman of the Electricity Regulatory Commission, Dr. Anthony Aka, had on 29 April 2016 condemned such undesirable acts and promised to sanction any DISCO found extorting money from consumers, the acts still persist in most parts of the country. The House observed that even though Electric Power Reform Act 2005 had provided regulatory measures to ensure the regulation and management of the distribution and generation companies, it has had little or no effect in monitoring and prohibiting these unlawful acts. The House believes that if these acts are not checked, they will cause more hardships on consumers, which will negate the intendment of the privatization of the power sector. Therefore, the House resolves to urge the Nigerian Regulatory Commission to carry out more effective monitoring and regulation to ensure that the distribution and generation companies comply with the law, and also investigate the nefarious act of sale of transformers by the distribution companies. And 2, mandate the Committee on Power to ensure compliance and report back to the House within 6 weeks for further legislative action. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I so move. Thank you.
Any second?
Honorable Garba, I so second.
For giving me this opportunity to move this motion. Mr. Speaker, this motion is essentially designed to effect a purposeful representation of the teeming Nigerian electricity consumers whose rights have suffered gross violation by the electricity distribution companies. It is a known fact nationwide that the DISCOs are not providing the services they are supposed to provide, especially when it comes to provision of power infrastructure. For example, transformers, poles, and cables. Many a times, consumers are asked to purchase these equipments in order to boost the supply of electricity to the areas. So the responsibility for this provision of materials lies with the discos companies, and they do not carry out these responsibilities. Honorable colleagues, as long as the National Assembly is empowered to make laws for peace, order, and good governance in this country, it is imperative for the House to strive to exercise these powers to protect the interests of Nigerians against this exploitation by the distribution companies. Accordingly, Honorable Speaker, the House is strongly urged to take appropriate legislative measures to sanction these electricity companies for failure to discharge their statutory obligations, contractual breach and non-compliance with post-privatization conditions for maximum protection of the consumer's interest. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I thank you so much for the opportunity given. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable IBB.
Mr. Speaker,